people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for part 2 of my favorite magical realism books. If I'm being honest with you, first of all, I don't really read magical realism books that often, and second of all, I don't really understand the difference between magical realism and urban fantasy, because I feel like almost all of the magical realism books I read could also constitute as urban fantasy, or at least historical fantasy, depending on like what time period they're set in. You know what I mean? But anyway, the point is, first of all, I will leave part 1 to this video in the description box below. And second of all, the first book on this list is called The Deepest Roots. This book is a YA magical realism story following a young girl and her 2 best friends, and they each have like these magical gifts, which are really, really cool and interesting, honestly. And they start to investigate the history behind these magical gifts, because the town kind of views them as like a curse. You know what I mean? But they're both a gift and a curse, if that makes any sense. So anyway, this book was so good and it's so underrated, and this book deserves so much more hype. First of all, the characters are so well developed and so distinct, like they're so wonderful. The friendship is so well developed and I really, really enjoyed it. The plot was so intriguing and it was so engaging. This story is so good. Like, I rated it 4 stars because I really, really enjoyed it. The plot, the friendship, the characters, everything about the story felt so authentic and so realistic, and I just really, really enjoyed every single step of the way, if that makes any sense. So with that, I would highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called The Mirror Season. First of all, there's a huge trigger warning on this book for sexual assault, because this book is a YA magical realism story following a young pansexual Latinx girl who starts a cautious friendship with another boy after discovering that they were both sexually assaulted at the same party. So please be wary of that huge trigger warning. Anyway, this book was so good and it was so well done. First of all, the writing is so beautiful and it's absolutely so lyrical. This author deserves all the hype and so much more because their writing is so well done. The way that they've crafted these characters and the plot and the story and the romance and the friendships is so well done and it's so well developed. I absolutely fell in love with every single element of this story because it's so well done, it's so magical, and it's absolutely so fantastic. Like I mentioned, this book deserves all the hype and so much more, and it definitely amplified my expectations for the author's next book, which I believe is already out by the time that you're watching this video, but again, as usual, I'm pre-filming this video in late February. But anyway, this book is so amazing and it's so awesome, and it's absolutely so lyrical, so with that I would highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called The Incitals. This book is a middle-grade magical realism story that follows a young, queer Latinx boy who finds a magical closet within his school that connects him with 2 other queer people of color from different corners of the country who are also his age. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but basically, this book is so good, and it's so well done, and it's absolutely so wholesome and so good. The friendship between the 3 characters is so well developed, and each character is so individual and so distinct that I was so emotionally attached to all of them. The plot is so intriguing and it's so engaging. The writing is so wonderful and the magic system is so unique and so creative. This book is so wonderful and it deserves all of its hype and so much more because it's so lovely and heartwarming and wholesome, and it's really, really like necessary and important and happy and fluffy, if that makes any sense. Like, this book is so good and I really, really enjoyed it, so with that I would highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Quintessence. This book is a middle-grade magical realism story that follows a young girl who goes on a quest after seeing a star fall from the sky. This book was so good, and it's absolutely so magical, and it's so underrated. First of all, the world building is so creative, and it was so engaging. The plot was so intriguing, and it was absolutely so awesome and so engaging. The characters are so well developed and so distinct. Like, the mental health representation was so good. The characters are so wholesome and so heartwarming, and the friendship was so lovely and so wonderful. I love middle-grade stories that have such a deep, strong friendship focus, because I think that that's so important and it's so timely, and it really makes me fall in love with the characters as they fall in love platonically with each other, if that makes any sense. This book was so awesome, and it's so wholesome, and it's so heartwarming, and like I mentioned, it's absolutely so underrated, and it deserves so much more hype. So with that, I would highly, highly recommend it. The last book on this list, and certainly not the least, is called One Jar of Magic. There's a trigger warning on this book for domestic abuse, so again, please be wary of that. This book is a middle-grade magical realism story that follows a young girl who's not quite as magical as other people want her to be, and she's starting to piece together what's truly real and what's truly magical, if that makes any sense at all. This book is so good. First of all, the writing is so lyrical, and it's absolutely so beautiful. The characters are so well developed and so distinct. The plot was so intriguing, and it's absolutely so engaging. The world building and the magic system are so creative, and they're so well done. And I also really appreciated how the author wrote the domestic abuse in a more subtle sense, because that's how abuse really is, realistically. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but basically, this book is so good, and it's so underrated, and it's absolutely so lyrical, and it's so magical, and it's so well done in every single element, and I really, really enjoyed it. So, first of all, please be wary of the domestic abuse trigger warning, and second of all, with all of that said, I would highly, highly recommend this book. So, in conclusion, first of all, I will leave part 1 to this video in the description box below in case you haven't seen that video already and you want some more recommendations. Second of all, I don't really read magical realism all too often, but like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, since I don't quite understand the differences between magical realism and urban fantasy, maybe I've read more magical realism than I think that I have, but I don't read it all too often because typically the genre for me is hit or miss. I'm mentioning that only because I don't know when I'll be making a part 3 to this video, but I don't think that it will be anytime soon. But anyway, if you did enjoy this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the cake emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!